We've got an opinion on banks, and pretty much everything we think about them is true. And I work for Cisco. I don't need to explain who Cisco is, I guess. But we serve a very large proportion of the banks across the world. We've got a few consultants in our company who try to help them work out how to make money with the kind of technology that Cisco uses and sells to them. A couple of years ago, I started talking to some banks to try and say, well, how well do you know your customer really? And they know them not much. And so, again, this is more interactivity for a second. There is, I think, only one product that the bank sells that you have to buy from a bank, at least in the UK and European countries. It's the current account. Everything else you probably should buy from somebody else if you have the time to shop around. So if you have a large amount of money, well, there are a lot of people in this square who would love to manage it for you. And if you've got a small amount of money, you know, £1,000 balance, your mobile phone could probably hold that. If you are getting a mortgage, a broker could lead you to a specialist mortgage institution. If you're getting insurance, I'm sure some insurers would be delighted to sell you insurance. What does the bank have? It has the acceptance of the bank account. And if it doesn't make money, isn't it just a commodity? Isn't it as cheap as it could be? And seeing as it's in the very near future going to become press of one button easy to change your current account from one bank to another, all of a sudden the importance of the bank relationship has gone. No one yet has grasped the portal for financial and other services in Europe. And there are reasons why, which we'll talk about in a sec. But MoneySupermarket.com allows you to buy insurance, travel, mobile phones, whatever it is, through a portal. They probably see more of your eyeballs than the bank ever does. They certainly probably know more about what you're doing than the bank ever does. They don't do any transactions because they've worked out they make money out of actually getting referral fees through to the insurance or through to the banking. So the question is, why is there no portal upon which I can graph my pension problems, I can have automatic insurance covering a new mobile phone contract that I've just signed, or someone that tells me to put my money in the kind of ISA that follows my lifestyle because they've noticed that my balance has gone beyond £1,000 or whatever it might be, and there is no portal doing that. Now, portals are out of favor, and there's some reasons why there isn't one. It's because, you know, the phablets and the tablets we have split up the apps. But why hasn't someone kind of linked in an Android phablet that you own and carry forever and sells you and transacts for you your financial existence? That layer, if it isn't owned by a bank, is fearsome for the bank, because they've just taken away all your transaction data, all your transaction history. The bank never sees it, and they will never be able to grow beyond the unprofitable current account. So it's a huge bank fear at the moment. And we've got to find a company who can create this kind of thing, because all you need to do is to be able to create a current account that is approved by the people who receive payments from current accounts. That's it. So that's the owning the layer issue. And I'd be interested to hear, you know, in discussion or now, whatever, who do you think can own the layer? And what is the layer? Is it a financial intermediary? Is it a MoneySupermarket.com thing? Is it, an insurance company who owns you? Is it Apple? But this is a fearsome topic for the banks. They don't know how to deal with it at all, and it could spell, the death knell for banks over the next 40 years. Remember, you'll hear later about big data. We heard earlier about Monetize and from MasterCard this morning, and they're trying to get to grips with this kind of thing as well. Everything you do is a source of making money. So if you're anywhere near a Curry's and you're thinking about buying a new TV, someone can sell you insurance. We ran a survey of about 5,500 people worldwide. And we asked of the 20 or 30 different institutions that could be your digital intermediary, who do you trust most? Who won? Banks. So the banks can see an opportunity. This is what I talked about. They can see an opportunity. They don't have the relationship with their technology teams and the entrepreneurial spirit to create this kind of facility. It's a absolutely ripe one. Google made efforts, yes, but they're going about it a different way. There are about 40 people going in this direction. Elisa, the mobile phone company from Finland, is going heavily into banking based on the mobile phone. We know you've all heard the stories about banking on your phones in Kenya, whether it be alternative currencies or something that goes around the four-party credit card model that you might have heard about this morning from MasterCard and Monetize. A lot of people are moving in this direction, but it all hinges on who accepts a payment from something that replaces a current account. Unless you completely subordinate the notion of a current account into just a white-labeled money nexus that could be run by HSBC, Lloyd's, I was going to say HBOS, but that's another part of the B's. Another one that's disappeared along the way. Well, let's look at what the ingredients are, okay, for this kind of functionality. And this will take all of our 20 minutes. But let's look at what the ingredients are. You need an understanding of an interface like Bank Simple in the US. So you need an understanding of their interface, because they've got a picture. They've really thought about how to present a picture to someone. You need the kind of breadth of a money supermarket here in the UK. You need an understanding of financial planning like a Mint in the US. You need a little technology in the background and a little regulatory advice to convince the EU guys to be able to allow scraping and data from the banks to the bank data forwards. You need to work with a payment vehicle, much like I'll plug our MasterCard friends in the morning, but it really could anybody, and it's currency independent. And how do you begin to grow this? Well, find a time in someone's life where they're open to the concept of not having a current account, i.e. taking on a £27,000 student debt. Well, I'd argue that why don't people start giving multi-company funded phablets to students, which they become wedded to, and it's a kind of portal for their entire life, where they can switch the new phablet. It's provided every couple of years by the mobile phone company that is there in some way and is cross-funded by insurance companies and banks, etc. And this tablet and the app within it gathers transaction data at a pace that it makes money from in much the same way that Google makes money from transaction data, etc. So this is an idea that's just sitting there. The banks simply don't know what to do with it, and it's complicated. But then the new ideas are all now complicated. But it's just an open field. I mean, if somebody, again, Hans, just in the last question perhaps, if you were a student or if you were actually Gen Zs, there are some Gen Zs, I think, in the room. That's a compliment to everybody in the room, by the way. And someone was offering you this kind of thing, wouldn't you be intrigued and say, well, hold on a second. This has just simplified the way I'm going to think about paying this my whole time. I don't need to worry about all this. It's sort of being taken care of. And I love this, this portal into the way I'm going. And yes, I will put £50 a month into my pension now, which means I might get £50 a month when I retire with the current annuities. What do you think?
Yeah.
For God's sake, someone go build.
So just to follow up on that, if you had to predict, because it's interesting when you said that banks in some sense are the most trusted in
Yeah.
this financial world. There's a lot of other surveys out there that say that banks are the least trusted.
They are, yeah.
Right? So if you had to predict who's going to win in this potential new area that you're describing, who would it be? Do you think it's the mobile phone companies?
Well, I started going down the track of the brands you would tie in there. A super brand would really help in the play. You know, are some of the big online social network super brands? Is Virgin a super brand? Well, maybe kind of. You know, is Google a super brand? Yes, absolutely. A super brand might be more trusted as a repository of money. I mean, let's give you an example. If you've got £50,000, you'd be, as I said, dumb to put it in the bank. But if you had £1,000 and all you were risking was £1,000, and you happen to have £50,000, i.e. you were profitable, you might risk the £50,000 with somebody else. You might say, I'm going to trust Apple to hold it in an account for me. And it's held in Apple shares, and there's a margin facility, God forbid. And I can withdraw it in cash. It's totally fungible because Apple shares are completely liquid. And so it could grow at the speed of Apple, I trust that, or it could grow at the speed of Facebook and whatever, or it could grow at the speed of Google or whatever it is, and if they go down, so be it. But it's a balance of £1,000. If they go bust, I might lose my 1,000. Either way, by the way, that's just got around all the bank regulations. So if you had a wallet that had a losable amount of money in it, it was topped up from a source like BlackRock or JP or some other reputable source or a brand you trusted, so that the larger amount was never at risk, but your wallet amount might have been. Your wallet could be £50. It doesn't matter what it is. Your wallet was carried around, and that's your current account. In other words, someone trusts, okay, so let's take Thames Water. It sends you a £300 bill per year. It operates like PayPal, which means that it's backed by an automatic top-up from some vehicle. So if Thames Water said, yes, we will accept a payment of your bill from your mobile phone provider, bank account's gone. Yes, brand is an ingredient into the play. You know, the interface is an ingredient. The range of providers is an ingredient. A compelling, maybe a new payment vehicle is an ingredient. Maybe a loyalty scheme across everything is an ingredient. So that, you know, what I spend on car insurance, cars, holidays, banking, mobile phones all saves me one magic, you know, token that I can spend on something ridiculous a little bit later. These are all part of the ingredient for this layer that should be taken by someone away from the banks. The banks know it, don't know what to do with it. I can tell you what they are doing. They don't really know what to do with it.
Tell us what they are doing.
Well, okay, so imagine if you were a bank and you had a mobile phone app or an internet app you're incredibly proud of. You would strive to have the best mobile phone app the world had ever seen. You'd pack facilities into it, more ability to, you know, pay people you'd never paid before through your mobile phone app. Or you would say, I'm going to have the most functional internet app in the world. That's the bank's approach. Right. It's a little off the mark, like by, you know, but they are taking. There is no other way that the bank can do it. They're utterly siloed to a bank, so they have no reaction. It's going to take an entrepreneur to do it, and that's the challenge I want to lay out for the room. If you see someone doing it, for God's sake, give them money. Tell me who it is so I can give them money, and applaud their efforts.
Okay, thank you very much.